I found out my husband had been cheating on me while I was pregnant with our second child. Tell me something. How do you forgive someone who never even stopped lying when you gave them a chance? And what would you do if the truth didn't come from him, but from the women he betrayed you with? I never thought I would be the kind of person to sit down and tell a story like this. The kind of story you read late at night, shaking your head, wondering how someone could stay. But life doesn't always give you clean choices. Sometimes it just gives you consequences, and you have to survive inside them. When everything started, I was living at my parents' house. After giving birth to my first baby, I went back to my hometown to recover. It was supposed to be temporary, just a few months. But months turned into nearly 2 years. I got pregnant again, and somehow life just settled into that routine. Me staying with my parents, taking care of our child, and him going back and forth between work and visiting us. From the outside, everything looked normal. He came home on weekends. He held our child. He asked if I was tired. He brought fruit sometimes, or little things I liked. If anyone asked me, I would have said I had a good husband. That's the part that still haunts me the most. Because while I was there, carrying his second child, believing we were building a family together, he was living another life. I didn't know anything back then, not even a hint. And I've asked myself that question 1,000 times. How did I not see it? But the truth is, there was nothing to see. He didn't take anyone on dates. He didn't disappear for long hours. He didn't act cold or distant. If anything, he was consistent, present, predictable. Later, I would find out that he only met her for 20, maybe 30 minutes at a time. Just enough to betray me, not enough to leave a trace. And that thought alone makes my stomach turn. The first time something felt wrong was so small I almost ignored it. We had installed a camera in the house, just a simple one, to keep an eye on things. One day, I casually checked it. I don't even remember why. Maybe instinct, maybe boredom. And that's when I saw him, sitting there, using his phone, messaging someone. But it wasn't his usual account. It was a Facebook account I had never seen before. I couldn't read the messages clearly, but I knew. Something about the way he held the phone, the way he typed, it didn't feel right. My chest tightened in a way I can't explain. That night, I asked him. At first, gently, then more directly, then desperately. He denied everything. He looked me straight in the eyes and told me I was overthinking. And for a moment, I wanted to believe him, because believing him was easier than facing what it could mean. But something inside me refused to stay quiet. So I told him one thing. I said, if there's anything going on, anything at all, just end it. Delete everything, block them, and we'll keep going. I won't ask anymore. Looking back now, I realize how broken I already was in that moment. I wasn't asking for the truth. I was asking for a version of reality I could survive. He agreed. He said there was nothing, but still promised he would cut off anything unnecessary. And I chose to let it go. For nearly 3 months, I tried to forget. I focused on my child, on my pregnancy, on keeping the peace. I told myself that even if there was something, maybe it was over now. Maybe we could still be a family. Maybe I could still trust him. And then everything collapsed. It didn't come from him. It never does. It came from a message. A woman I had never met texted me out of nowhere. She said she had met my husband through Facebook. They had met in person twice. And then suddenly, he disappeared. Blocked her. Cut contact. She thought it was strange, so she searched. And that's how she found me. That's how she found out he had a wife, a child, another baby on the way. I remember staring at the screen, rereading her message over and over again. It felt like my brain couldn't process it, like reality had split into 2 versions, and I didn't know which one I was living in. I didn't cry, not at first. I just went numb. Then I confronted him again. This time, there was no denying, no escaping. And that's when he finally told me everything. Not just about her, but about another woman. The one he had been involved with for nearly 2 years. 2 years. 2 years of lies. While I was pregnant, while I was raising our child, while I believed we were building something real. He said it meant nothing. He said it was just passing feelings. No love, no attachment. Just something that happened. Do you know what hurts the most? It's not even the cheating itself. It's how easily he said it. Like it was nothing. Like our marriage, our family, could be placed on one side, and those nothing moments still existed on the other. And as if that wasn't enough, there was more. Both of those women had started threatening him. They wanted money. They said if he didn't pay, they would tell me, tell my family, expose everything. And the worst part, they were right, because the truth didn't come from him. It came from them. I remember sitting there, holding my stomach, feeling my baby move, and thinking, what kind of life am I bringing this child into? I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. I wanted to disappear. But instead, I stayed quiet. Because reality doesn't pause for your pain. I have a child. Another one on the way. A family that believes I'm happy. Parents I don't want to worry. A marriage that's already cracked, but not completely shattered. And that's where I am now. Standing in the middle of something I don't know how to fix. And don't know how to leave. He didn't beg. He didn't make big promises. Maybe because he knows I don't believe him anymore. But he said one thing. He said he still needs me. Needs our children. And that he still loves me. And I don't know what's worse. Believing that or not believing anything at all. I remember that night so clearly. Because it was the first time I realized love and trust are not the same thing. You can still feel something for someone. And at the same time know, deep down, that they are no longer safe for your heart. After he confessed everything, the house felt different. Not physically. The same walls, the same furniture, the same quiet evenings. But something invisible had shifted. Every time he walked past me, I felt it. That distance, that silence that wasn't there before. He tried to act normal at first. Still asked if I had eaten. Still checked if I needed anything. Still reached out, gently. Like nothing had changed. And that's when it started hurting in a new way. Because now, every small act of care felt fake. Not because it necessarily was, but because I no longer knew what was real. I started replaying everything in my head. Every weekend he came home. Every time he smiled. Every moment I thought, I'm lucky. And suddenly, those memories didn't feel warm anymore. They felt contaminated. Like there was a version of him standing beside me back then that I never truly knew. At night, when everything was quiet, my thoughts got louder. I would lie there, staring at the ceiling, one hand on my stomach, feeling my baby move, and the other gripping the blanket so tightly my fingers would ache. Questions kept looping in my head. Was I not enough? Did he ever feel guilty? Was he thinking about them while sitting next to me? And the worst one, would he do it again? I didn't ask him these questions. Not because I didn't want answers, but because I was afraid of them. Instead, I watched him. Quietly, carefully. I noticed things I had never paid attention to before. How quickly he would turn his phone face down. How he hesitated, just for a second, when I walked into the room unexpectedly. How sometimes his eyes avoided mine when conversations got too personal. Maybe those things had always been there. Or maybe now I was just seeing clearly. One evening, I finally broke the silence. I asked him, why? Not angrily, not crying, just empty. And he paused for a long time. Long enough that I thought maybe he wouldn't answer. Then he said something I still don't know how to process. He said, I don't know. At first, I thought he was lying again. But when I looked at him, really looked, there was no defense in his eyes. No excuse. Just confusion. And maybe that's what made it worse. Because how do you fight something that doesn't even have a reason? He told me it wasn't about love. That he never stopped loving me. That those things just happened. That they didn't mean anything. But I kept thinking, if it meant nothing, then why risk everything? Why risk your family, your children, me? I asked him if he was afraid of losing me. He said yes. I asked him if that fear ever stopped him. He didn't answer. And that silence told me everything. Days passed, then weeks. We didn't fight much, which sounds strange, right? You'd expect shouting, crying, doors slamming. But instead, we became quiet, careful, like two people walking across thin ice, afraid that one wrong step would break everything completely. Sometimes I would catch myself looking at him, and remembering the man I fell in love with. The one who made me laugh. The one who held my hand when I was scared. The one who promised we would build a life together. And for a second, I would feel weak. Like maybe, just maybe, I could pretend none of this happened. That maybe people make mistakes. That maybe families survive wars. But then reality would come back, like a wave hitting me out of nowhere. And I would remember this wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. 2 women, 2 years, multiple lies. And even after I gave him a chance, he still continued. That's the part I can't get past. It's not just what he did. It's what he did after I knew. Because I told him clearly, end everything. And we move on. And he still chose not to. So what does that say? About him? About me? About us? There were moments I thought about leaving, packing my things, taking my child, starting over. But then reality would hit again. I'm pregnant. I have no stable income of my own right now. My parents, they trust him. They believe I'm safe. And I know if I tell them everything, it won't just break me, it will break them too. And I'm not strong enough for that yet. So I stayed. Not because I forgave him, not because I trusted him, but because I didn't know what else to do. And I hate admitting that, because it makes me feel weak, like I'm choosing to stay in something broken. But the truth is, when you have children, when your life is tied to someone in 100 different ways, whose live is not a simple sentence anymore. It's a storm, and you don't know if you'll survive it. He hasn't asked me for forgiveness. Not directly. Maybe he knows he doesn't deserve it. Maybe he knows I wouldn't give it. But he tries. In small ways. Being present. Helping more. Checking in. Staying home more often. And sometimes I wonder, is this who he really is? Or is this just temporary? A reaction to being caught. Because I've learned something the hard way. Change after exposure is not always real change. And that fear sits inside me every day. Like a quiet voice that never fully goes away, telling me this could happen again. And the scariest part, I know it's true. So now I live in this in-between space. Not fully staying, not fully living, not fully trusting, not fully letting go. Just existing for my children, for the life I once believed in, for a future I'm no longer sure about. And sometimes, late at night, when everything is silent, I ask myself one question over and over again. If I forgive him, will I ever be happy again? Or will I just become someone who learns to live with pain? There was a moment, a very quiet, almost invisible moment, when I realized something had changed inside me, not in him, in me. It happened one afternoon. Nothing dramatic. No arguments. No tears. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, folding tiny baby clothes. The kind that still smell new, soft, untouched by the world. And suddenly, I stopped. Because I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just emptiness. And that scared me more than anything that had happened before. Because pain means you still care. But emptiness feels like something is already gone. That was the moment I started asking myself a different question. Not, can I forgive him? But, who am I becoming if I stay like this? Up until then, everything I thought about was tied to him. What he did, why he did it, whether he would change. But I realized I had completely disappeared from my own story. I was just reacting, enduring, surviving. So I started paying attention to myself again. Little things at first. How I felt when he touched my hand. How my chest tightened when his phone buzzed. How I couldn't look at him the same way without remembering everything. And I stopped pretending those feelings didn't exist. One night, he reached for me. Just a simple gesture. The kind that used to feel normal, comforting. And without even thinking, I pulled away. Not aggressively, not angrily, just instinctively. And the look on his face in that moment, I think that was the first time he truly understood. This wasn't something he could fix quickly. This wasn't something that would fade with time and effort. Something fundamental had broken. After that, things became clearer. Not easier, but clearer. I stopped asking him questions I already knew the answers to. I stopped trying to understand his why. Because maybe there is no satisfying reason for betrayal. Maybe sometimes people just choose themselves. And that choice leaves damage behind. Instead, I started thinking about my boundaries. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but quietly, firmly. I told him one evening, I don't know if I can forgive you. He didn't interrupt, didn't defend himself, just listened. And I continued. I'm still here because of the children, because of everything we've built. But I need you to understand, staying is not the same as healing. My voice didn't shake, and that surprised me, because for the first time, I wasn't speaking from pain. I was speaking from clarity. I told him I needed time, real time, not weeks, not a few months. Time to see if his actions matched his words. Time to see if I could even recognize myself again. He nodded, and for once, he didn't try to promise anything. Maybe because he knows promises don't mean much anymore. Days turned into weeks again. But something inside me was different now. I wasn't waiting for him to fix things. I was observing, watching what he does when no one is forcing him, watching who he becomes when the pressure fades. And at the same time, I started rebuilding myself, slowly. I began talking to a close friend, not about everything at first, just enough to not feel completely alone. I spent more time focusing on my child, on my pregnancy, on small routines that made me feel stable, because I realized something important. Even if my marriage falls apart, my life doesn't have to. That thought gave me a kind of strength I didn't know I had. Not loud strength, not the kind that makes big decisions overnight, but quiet strength. The kind that helps you stand, even when everything feels uncertain. There are still hard days. Days when memories hit me out of nowhere. When I imagine things I wish I didn't know. When I question everything again. And on those days, I don't pretend I'm okay. I let myself feel it, but I don't let it control me anymore. And as for him, he's still here, still trying. In his own way, still showing up. But now, I don't see him as the center of my world anymore. He's just a part of it. A part that I'm still deciding what to do with. I don't know what the future will look like. Maybe we'll rebuild something new. Maybe we'll eventually go our separate ways. But for the first time since all of this began, I'm not afraid of that uncertainty anymore. Because I know whatever happens, I won't lose myself again. And maybe that's the real question I want to ask you. The person listening to this right now. If you were in my place, would you stay and try to rebuild? Or would you walk away and start over? Let me know what you would do. And if you've ever been through something like this, I'd really like to hear your story too. Sometimes, knowing you're not alone is the only thing that helps you keep going. And if you want to hear more real stories like this, don't forget to follow the channel. Because some truths are hard to tell, but they're even harder to carry alone.